As an Indiana school janitor, he entered America's Got Talent and became victorious. However, the confetti, the cheers, and the viral moment concealed something much more surprising and tragic than the performance that brought him fame. Fans were taken aback by Richard's decision at the end of the season, which also prompted serious concerns about what was going on behind the scenes. His journey was remarkable, his ascent was emotional, and no one could have expected the truth he ultimately verified. What is Richard doing right now, and where is he? You will be quite surprised by the response. How Richard was discovered by the world. Through a straightforward moment caught inside a middle school where he had worked for the majority of his professional life, Richard Goodall was introduced to the world in a way that even he had not anticipated. Richard started singing in 2022 as he was wrapping up another day at Westview Middle School in Turut, just like he always did when kids got together. Without knowing what would happen next, someone took out a phone at that same moment, recorded him playing Don't Stop Believing, and uploaded it online. His voice had already started to get out by the time he got back to work the next morning. Initially on TikTok, then subsequently on all social media platforms that thrive on unforeseen events, the video was shared right away, and as the number of views increased, the national media took note. News organizations played the video again. Applause-filled comment sections. Soon after, television producers and talent scouts began to take notice as well. Richard, however, continued to get up early, put on his work shirt, and show up at the same job he had held for more than 20 years despite all the commotion. People were unaware of how strange this type of attention was to Richard. From the start, his life had been straightforward, stable, and firmly anchored in Indiana. He was born in Indianapolis and lived in Turut for nearly his whole life. He developed habits and found contentment in the things that most people take for granted. He was more than just the janitor at Westview Middle School. While cleaning the cafeteria, he hummed and sang along to classic rock songs, smiled at children, and made them laugh when they were having a bad day. He got ingrained in the school's culture over time as students saw him every day. The possibility was therefore nearly overwhelming when America's Got Talent approached out. Prior to this, Richard had never been on an airplane. He had never crossed the entire nation or entered a space with millions of viewers, cameras, and blinding lights. For the first time in his life, he traveled to Los Angeles in May 2024 with just his voice, his anxiety, and the encouragement of a community that had been rooting for him since that first viral video. The majority of contestants view the America's Got Talent stage as the culmination of a protracted preparation process. Richard, meanwhile, saw it as a step into a world he had previously only observed from afar. His uneasiness was evident as soon as he stepped onto the stage and became more apparent when he introduced himself. However, something familiar reappeared as soon as the music began. Suddenly, the reserved Indiana janitor filled the entire auditorium with a performance that seemed both intimate and powerful as his voice calmed and his expression altered. He sang Don't Stop Believing, and the judges leaned closer. Heidi Klum made the choice that would alter his life, and the audience stood up. Richard was surprised, moved, and overcome by a moment that was much greater than he could have ever dreamed of as she reached for the golden bell and the confetti began to fall. He approached the tournament as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity after that. Each performance evolved into a means of paying tribute to those who had stood by him long before the cameras were even there. He dedicated the song, How Am I Supposed to Live Without You, to his fiancée Angie during the quarterfinals. His passionate performance made the song seem intimate even to those who were unfamiliar with him. He displayed an entirely different side of himself when he returned for the Eye of the Tiger semi-finals, putting up a stronger, more enthusiastic performance that demonstrated he was more than simply a viral sensation. His presence and range made him a contender. He understood deep inside that he was representing the people who had supported him up until the finals. Richard returned to the band that had unintentionally influenced this phase of his life in the conclusion. He gave a sincere performance, putting all of his feelings and experiences into the song. Richard Goodall was declared the America's Got Talent Season 19 winner shortly after that. This poignant moment felt even more significant than the performance itself, and it was commemorated by confetti, lights, and applause. This was more than just a win. Every invisible effort and every instance in which he continued to sing despite the fact that no one in the industry was paying attention was validated. However, there was a tragic element that underpinned all of that achievement and explained why his performances were so emotionally charged. The victory was witnessed by all. The wounds behind the voice, however, were invisible to them. Further details about the man America fell in love with are revealed in that section of his story, the injuries underlying the voice. From the outside, Richard Goodall's ascent may have seemed abrupt, but in reality he had been carrying years of disappointment long before America heard him sing a single song. In an attempt to get a break or at least a chance to be seen, he had previously tried auditioning for The Voice. However, it didn't work out. No encouragement or callback, just silence, the type that all artists are all too familiar with. He returned to his life after that disappointment, as most individuals do when they are rejected, silently without grumbling, and resolved to continue. His life continued to revolve around music, but the idea of being famous felt like something he put on a shelf in the hopes that it would still be important in the future. He found solace in a tiny gospel group for a while, which encouraged him to continue singing. Together they constructed something solid, traveled and played, but everything abruptly stopped when the pandemic struck. The band he had relied on disbanded entirely, venues closed, and events came to an end. Although it wasn't anyone's fault, Richard had to navigate yet another empty area. He had to regain his confidence from scratch after losing the band, which meant losing one of the few venues where his voice felt heard. However, Richard was unprepared for the most difficult chapter of all. Richard lost Patricia Sue, his first wife, to kidney cancer in 2021. She had supported him even when he doubted himself, and she had been his companion for many years. Everything changed when she passed away. It was more than grief. It was the abrupt sense of disorientation. Their shared routines had vanished. The house had a new vibe. The days seemed to drag on forever. Because it was who he was, he showed up for work. On the inside, though, he was learning how to live a life he no longer recognized. Losses like that don't go away. You have it with you. You could hear the weight in his voice when he finally started singing again. When his life had reached its pinnacle following America's Got Talent, he experienced yet another unanticipated turn of events. His body finally forced him to slow down due to the intense pressure of interviews, travel, rehearsals, and new duties. In 2024, he had hernia surgery, which he needed but initially kept a secret. He had to distance himself from everything he had been striving for in order to recover from that surgery. It allowed him time to reflect, take a deep breath, and realize how rapidly his life had changed. However, life didn't remain burdensome. Richard rediscovered love in between grief and rebuilding. She was named Angie, and she came into his life in 2022, long before he became well-known thanks to America's Got Talent. She didn't consider him a celebrity or a viral sensation. She saw who was responsible for everything. The person who carried a lot of his narrative in silence, who hoped, who worried. She eventually became the person he trusted, the one who supported him during the competition's highs and lows, and the one who reminded him that he deserved more than sporadic moments of joy. And she was the voice encouraging him to keep trying when the pressure from America's Got Talents was at its peak. In reality, they got married a few days before the show's finale, not for attention, but because she gave him a sense of fulfillment once more. However, Angie did more than that. She also encouraged him to investigate his own background, which he had never ventured to do. Richard didn't know his biological father growing up. He accepted the fact that the room remained unoccupied for years. However, Angie felt that he should be given closure and an opportunity to comprehend his origins. He looked with her encouragement and was shocked by what he discovered. His father, a retired Army veteran and K-9 officer, was still living and leading a life entirely different from Richard's. 3 siblings who Richard had never met before accompanied him. The moment felt larger than all of them when they eventually connected. "Thanks to Ancestry and Angie, I found my biological father," he wrote when he posted the news on social media. In addition to being a former Army veteran, he is a retired K-9 police officer in Indiana. You can only imagine how shocked he would be to learn that he has a son after all these years, as he has no children. "He wasn't even informed that I existed, albeit I can't give you the complete tale. He also played the mandolin, guitar, and drums. Much appreciation to my Angie. I wouldn't have tried to look if it weren't for her." A sense of belonging was undoubtedly provided by this new relationship, yet the past was not forgotten. He was unaware that he had been absent from his future. The residents of his village remained encouraging despite everything he went through. Even when he had to fly to Los Angeles for America's Got Talent, neither a company nor a sponsorship paid for his transportation. After watching his TikTok video, friends, neighbors, and complete strangers all saw a part of themselves in him. They raised funds, organized fundraisers, and made sure he had everything he required just to take the stage. However, despite everything he had experienced, no one was ready for what he chose to do next. It was an unexpected decision for everyone. A choice that unexpectedly altered the course of his narrative. The decision that took everyone by surprise. Richard's next move caught everyone off guard. Nor the people in the audience who supported him. Not even some of the supporters who had followed him every step of the way, nor the media who were waiting outside the studio. Most people thought he would give up his janitor badge to pursue a full-time career in music after winning America's Got Talent. They imagined him landing deals, relocating to larger cities, and abandoning the life he had led for many years. However, Richard made a choice that revealed much more about his true self than any performance ever could when the cameras stopped filming. He made the decision to return to his previous job as a janitor at West VGO Middle School, which he had abandoned prior to the climax. He didn't try to turn it into a big lesson or make a theatrical statement when interviewers questioned why. He was straightforward. He clarified that he never anticipated winning in the first place, and that he intended to stay on staff at the institution while fresh chances arose. In fact, he still found the entire event to be surreal. He frequently declared, "America's Got Talent was anyone's game," and he meant it during the competition. He didn't enter with the belief that he would win the title. He entered with the hope that others would see the significance of singing to him. That was all. The dream was not fame, it was expressed. He wished to share his passion with those who could relate, and that was made possible by the show. Richard truly liked his job despite popular belief. He was fond of the children, he was fond to the employees. He enjoyed the routine of rising and being a part of a place that had greatly influenced his life. He didn't feel the need to flee his life before all the cameras came, even if he had a national platform behind him. Even though everything around him was changing, going back to school kept him rooted in the routines that made sense. However, remaining grounded does not imply avoiding novel experiences. He accepted each offer with the same genuineness that people had come to appreciate after the competition. His voice reverberated throughout the arena as thousands of spectators watched him perform at an Indiana Pacers game. Shortly after, he performed at the Circle of Lights, an Indiana holiday tradition that attracted large audiences eager to witness their hometown victor up close. His journey from competitor to coworker came full circle when he opened for Howie Mandel. He even made an appearance at the Festival of Lights in Riverside. Another instance where viewers who had previously only seen him on television were introduced to his voice. His life was already filled with chapters, and these appearances only added more. The way his village welcomed him made the initial viral moment seem like just the beginning. People's strong connection to his story was demonstrated by the fact that he was given a key to the city. In his appreciation, West VGO Middle School hosted a pep rally to commemorate him and celebrate not just his victory but also his demeanor throughout the entire process. The dad who had supported them for years was applauded by the students. Teachers sobbed and families gathered to express their gratitude for his genuine representation of the community. Richard also kept sharing pictures of himself performing the same tasks he had always done, even as he celebrated these novel experiences. Preparing for another school day, cleaning classrooms and waxing floors. For someone else, juggling public recognition with daily life might have been too much to handle. Richard, however, didn't view the attention as a chore or something he had to chase after. Instead of viewing it as a substitute for his life, he saw it as an extension of it. He maintained the security of his career while letting the music industry develop gradually and organically without pressuring anyone or jumping into agreements he wasn't comfortable with, even while music and performing became more and more ingrained in him. And that methodical approach made room for what followed. Because he didn't stop pursuing his passion while he went back to work. This trip would demonstrate the extent to which his voice could carry him in his nascent musical career. It's surprising to learn that neither a record label nor a TV appearance launched his musical career. It resulted from a choice that thrust him into the realm of professional music in a manner he had never encountered before. His musical career began. Like someone entering a home they had only ever seen from the doorway, Richard made the decision to approach his music career cautiously and gently. The entertainment industry may be fast-paced, loud, and demanding. Richard, however, recognized something that most inexperienced performers do not. He didn't have to persuade others that he was deserving of their attention. That was already accomplished by his performances. His goal was to develop at a natural rate that would allow him to maintain ties to his previous life while transitioning into the new one he was creating. This strategy continued into his first significant musical achievement. On August 29, 2025, his debut song "Long Time Coming" was made available. As soon as he revealed the date, followers put it on their calendars. A sincere social media post with the announcement stated, "Hello, this is Richard. All I wanted to do was tell you my tale. I frequently wake up feeling like the luckiest man alive because it's been such an incredible adventure. Many of you have inquired about my future plans, and I'm thrilled to inform you that my song "Long Time Coming" will be available on all streaming services on August 29th. Nashville, a city that combines history with fresh starts, is where he recorded the song. The process allowed him to explore his identity as an artist outside of the competitive arena. On social media, he posted brief teasers of the song that gave away its mood and emotion. The sincerity that drew viewers in from the start was present in every clip. He didn't distance himself from the group that influenced his musical intuition while creating his own music. As he developed his solo career, he performed with Sugar Street, a local ensemble. He was able to experiment and establish himself without the crippling pressure of national attention thanks to these smaller shows. Long before anyone knew his name, he was reminded of why he loved singing by the band's beat, the local audience, and the comfortable setting. He was able to take advantage of chances by collaborating with new managers. However, there was nothing hurried about his strategy. The goal was to create something durable and stable. Another unanticipated chance presented itself as his music career started to take shape. Publishers started to show interest in publishing his story in book form with all the relatable parts. Hope lost, tenacity, and an unanticipated ascent. Talks over a possible book contract started. Even though nothing was resolved, it was clear how strongly his narrative resonated that people wanted to write about his life. His wife Angie even alluded to the possibility of a biopic in the future. Richard responded with a giggle when someone asked him who he should play in a film, Zac Efron. Even though it was a joke, it demonstrated how at ease he was growing with the limelight. His bond with the performance that first exposed him to the public persisted even after he ventured into new artistic endeavors. Richard made a comeback to the stage for the America's Got Talent 20th anniversary special, opening the evening with Eye of the Tiger, a performance that was both nostalgic and novel. Backstage, he shared the stage with a sizable group of former competitors, creating a moment that combined nostalgia with fresh enthusiasm. He viewed his last audition from several months ago, the same video that catapulted him out of Indiana and into the national limelight. It struck him more forcefully than he had anticipated. It was no longer only a video, it served as a reminder of all the changes that had occurred since the day he took the stage for the first time. He was also taken back to the moment that had seemed so surreal that night. He called it a dream come true to share the stage with Jury's guitarist while performing with Neil Schon, the kind of experience he never thought he would have in his lifetime. It reminded us of all the doors that had opened since the conclusion of the performance. Doors he never expected. He passed through doors with appreciation rather than coercion. He then disclosed something that nearly everyone was surprised by just when they believed they knew where his story was going. A confirmation that once again changed the plot and alluded to an unexpected chapter. We were surprised by the confirmation. People had already developed their own opinions on Richard Goodall's future by 2025. Some others thought that when he returned to his normal life, his time on TV would be a lovely memory. Others thought he would have a hard time breaking into a field that moves quickly and doesn't wait for people. However, Richard revealed the truth in a straightforward and sincere manner that grabbed everyone's attention. He validated the silent hopes of the fans. For him, music was more than just a phase of his life. He had planned to walk in that direction without turning around. Sharing well-known rock tunes with children, humming at lunch breaks, and singing in the school hallways. He didn't utilize those as pastimes to kill time. They were parts of him. They were his day's most organic moments. He wasn't attempting to sound poetic or dramatic when he claimed that America's Got Talent just provided him a larger stage. He meant it. He was an extension of himself in whatever he did on the show. His passion wasn't created by the cameras, they simply made it louder. And the whole story changed to revolve around him after that confirmation. He wasn't a fortunate viral sensation or a one-season success story. He was a man who was totally embracing the career he had spent his entire life pursuing. The most obvious illustration of that change occurred in November 2025 at the VO County YMCA Inspiration Gala, a community event in Tiroti, the city where he had lived for a long time. In his universe, talent shows had always existed. There was an excitement in the room from the audience that only comes from those who have a personal stake in someone's path. Richard gave the audience a preview of the direction his music was taking when he performed his new single A Long Time Coming as the main act. Don't Stop Believing, the song that completely transformed his life, came after the new song. Teachers grinned through tears, families swirled together, and everybody sang along. The event felt more significant than just entertainment because the gala earned money for scholarships to support kids' attendance at YMCA and summer camp programs. It was a moment that encapsulated Richard's values of connection, community, and purpose. As his dedication to music grew, he also started considering the future from a pragmatic standpoint. For many years, a major aspect of his identity was his work at West VO Middle School. However, as his schedule expanded and his opportunities increased, he began to seriously consider leaving the institution. Although it wasn't a simple choice, it was a growth-oriented one. He had moved into a new phase of his life that was influenced by travel, music, and a relationship that was very important to him. He expressed his desire to begin a new chapter in his life with Angie that mirrored the one they were creating together. Retirement didn't seem like a conclusion. It seemed like a step in the direction of something significant. This action opened up new possibilities that were exciting and rejuvenating. It has been claimed that Richard and Angie have started to consider relocating to Florida. The state provides warmth, a more laid-back way of life, and the opportunity to settle down at a pace that suits their preferences. He expressed his desire to purchase a house in an honest manner. It wasn't a mansion or anything fancy, just a location where he could work on his music, take breaks from obligations, and enjoy his new life. Richard began making significant progress in his career while he and Angie plotted out what their next few years may entail. He talked candidly about his desire to work with Simon Cowell in the future. It seemed like a logical next step for everything he had begun to work with the man who had assisted in bringing him to the nation. Additionally, he started brainstorming tracks that might best capture his essence for a whole album. Conversations about live tours and brand partnerships are also emerging. Every one of them matched the authentic image that people initially identified with. He remained connected to the people who had assisted him from the beginning, even as everything else took up steam. He kept releasing updates on the internet, including glimpses into his daily life and moments from recording sessions. Fans had a strong reaction. Many people, particularly those who felt ignored or thought they had put off pursuing their own goals for too long, told him that his trip offered them hope. Richard took those messages to heart, particularly because he wanted people to know that their support meant a lot to him and because he knew what it was like to question whether your moment has come. According to all accounts, Richard is still employed at West VGO Middle School. He is still there, carrying out his routine tasks. It's just the way things stand at the moment, despite the fact that his music career is still expanding. He's taking advantage of new chances, pursuing a career in music and continuing to work at the profession that has provided for him for the most of his life. And perhaps that's the aspect with which people identify the most. He's not acting like he has everything worked out as he moves forward. For him, this is only the beginning, and he is approaching things cautiously. Do you believe Richard Goodall ought to resign from his position as school janitor? Tell us in the space provided for comments below. Remember to like this video, click on the next one on your screen, and subscribe to our channel for more updates if you like this one.